Thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And for those who have joined online, kind of go over QPR. For those of you who don't know, it does stand for question, persuade, refer. And we're going to kind of be talking about how to ask the question, and we'll talk about what the question is. So go ahead and get started. We did introductions, so I'm glad to have you here. Hi. No, you're good. So before we kind of get into the training, I do want to say QPR is a suicide prevention awareness training. And talking about it sometimes is not easy at all. Some of us may be lost survivors or attempt survivors. And so suicide and mental health can be a really challenging topic to discuss sometimes. And it can bring up feelings that we may not have expected, or maybe that we don't feel comfortable with. So I really want to take this moment to just tell you, if you recognize those feelings coming up, be sure to monitor yourself. And if you need to step out of the room, that's totally, completely fine. Just let our coalition staff, I know we did introductions, so if you just see someone in our coalition staff, just let them know with a thumbs up or a nod of the head that you're okay. If you need some extra support, we're more than happy. We're here for you, and we can, go to a room and have a conversation if needed. But I just really want you guys to know that if you need to take a break, please do so. And we're here for you. And also be really proud of yourselves for coming to the training today to learn how to save lives. So some of our learning objectives today are going to be to increase awareness of stigma and understand suicide as a public health issue, how to recognize someone at risk for suicide, how to QPR, question, persuade, and refer someone who may be suicidal, how to access local and national referral resources, and how to offer hope and save a life. That's really what this training is about, is offering hope and saving lives. So before we go into the training, I'm going to play this video. It's going to give some more insight into kind of why QPR is important, why we need to talk about it. And I'll go ahead and hand that over to Elsa.
It may be hard to imagine, but according to the World Health Organization, over 800,000 people die each year by suicide. That is more people than are killed in all the wars and homicides combined. Of these deaths each year, more than 40,000 are Americans. That is one death by suicide every 13 minutes. Suicide affects every region of the world and is the third highest cause of death for people aged 15 to 44. And for every life lost, another 25 people will attempt suicide, often causing serious medical injury or lifelong disability. Today, the greatest loss of life is among working-aged men, 35 to 65 years old. Men of all races and ethnicities are at higher risk. And from the very young to the very old, millions of Americans think seriously about suicide for days, weeks, and even years. Thinking seriously about suicide is itself a kind of misery index, a sign that something is terribly wrong and needs attention. Most often, what needs attention and treatment is clinical depression, a medical condition that is now the leading cause of disability in the world. In America alone, there are an estimated 15 million sufferers. Most of us are touched by suicide. Some of us have lost family members, loved ones, friends, schoolmates, or colleagues. None of us escapes the loss of people we admire and respect, whether they are people we know or are much-loved musicians, artists, and entertainers. If you have lost someone close to you to suicide, then you already know the considerable cost, the tears and awful pain of loss. And if you are one of the millions who have thought seriously about suicide, then you already know just how lonely and terrible it is to suffer alone. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse, bipolar, and thought disorders like schizophrenia all contribute great risk for suicidality. Yet most people suffering from a mental illness do not kill themselves. They get help, they find a way, and they recover to live full and productive lives. And if recovery is possible, that means suicide is preventable. Thankfully, the world is changing. We understand mental illness. We understand suicide. And we know that treatment saves lives. Right now, our teachers don't teach us about depression and suicide. And our faith leaders often struggle to talk openly about these topics. Too often, doctors can't talk to their patients about suicide, even patients who are sitting in their offices planning how to end their lives, perhaps by overdosing on the medication being prescribed to them. The world remains dangerously ignorant about suicide. So to save lives, we must bring the subject out of the shadows. Effective treatment would save thousands of lives around the world. But we must learn to talk comfortably about suicide, and we need your help to start the conversation. Join us in this fight, a fight to save lives. Preventing suicide, it's what people do.
That really is what QPR training is for. It's for us to get comfortable asking the question, get comfortable having those conversations with people. We're going to talk about some signs and clues or warning signs where it might kind of raise a red flag and say, hey, I need to have this conversation with this person. So the purpose of QPR is, sorry. Okay.
Let's try one more time.
Wonderful. So the purpose of QPR. QPR is not intended to be a form of counseling or treatment. We're not training people to be counselors through QPR. It's not treatment. We are offering hope through positive action. Okay, so that's what QPR is. Not counseling, not treatment. It's hope through positive action. So we're gonna go through some suicide myths and facts. There we go. So the first one is, and these are all things that I'm sure a lot of us have heard in our lifetime. So we're gonna kind of talk about that. So first, no one can stop a suicide. It is inevitable. Actually, if people in a crisis get the help they need, they may never be suicidal again. The next one is, asking a person about suicide will only make them angry and increase the risk of suicide. I know personally, I've heard that a lot said. Don't talk about it because it could put the idea in their mind. And actually, asking someone directly about suicidal intent lowers anxiety, opens up communication, and lowers the risk of a suicide attempt. Another one, only experts can prevent suicide. That's why we're in QPR training. Suicide prevention is everybody's business, and anyone can help prevent the tragedy of suicide. Another one, once a person decides to die by suicide, there is nothing anyone can do to stop them. Suicide is the most preventable kind of death, and almost any positive action may save a life. So after all that, you can say, well, how can I help? What can I do to help people that I care about, help my community? Ask the question. So we're going to talk about what the question is. Before we go into that, I just want to really quickly touch on the language of suicide. We all know words matter. We all know what we say affects people. So we're all learning every single day. I know I have had to learn how to make sure that I'm saying things that don't make the person I'm talking to feel judged. To be a safe person, we need to help make that person feel safe. And the way that we talk to them and our body language and things like that is how we do that. So I'm sure a lot of us have heard someone say, oh, they committed suicide, or they've had a successful suicide or unsuccessful suicide. We kind of want to change our language a little bit. And instead of saying maybe committed suicide, we can say died by suicide. Why is the reason? Because commit kind of implies that suicide is a sin or a crime. And then another one, successful suicide, that kind of makes it sound like a positive. Living is not a failure. People with suicidal thoughts already feel like they failed at everything. So we want to just make sure that we're not continuing that pattern of thinking. So we'll go into suicide clues and warning signs. So we need to be able to recognize the signs of someone experiencing a suicidal crisis in order for us to be able to intervene early and get them professional help. So we use the word clues because many people communicating their desire to attempt suicide use hints and like oblique language, like discoverable clues about their intentions. So suicide warning signs may be sent to multiple people in the person's social network, to only a few, perhaps to only one, or even to no one. So research is still ongoing on this. So, just keep that in mind. But these are some things that research has shown us that are clues. So first I want to say, take all signs seriously. We never, ever, ever ignore a warning sign. The more clues and signs observed, the greater the risk of suicide. And also, I want to say there's no such thing as attention-seeking behavior. And then lastly, it never hurts to just ask the question. So what are some of those clues that we're talking about? We have direct verbal clues, indirect verbal clues, behavioral clues, and situational clues. We're going to go through and talk about some of those. So direct verbal clues can sound like, I've decided to kill myself. I wish I were dead. I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to end it all. If such and such does not happen, I'll kill myself. And I want to say, you notice one of those as I'm going to commit suicide. I know we just had a whole conversation about that. The word commit is intentionally left in this slide because these are verbatim quotes made by people who went on to die by suicide. So direct verbal clues refer to explicit statements a person may say that indicate they're considering suicide. These are clear, straightforward expressions of suicidal intent or desire for death. Okay, so those are direct verbal clues. Next, we have indirect verbal clues. That could sound like, I'm tired of life. I just can't go on. My family would be better off without me. Who cares if I'm dead anyway? I just want out. I won't be around much longer. Pretty soon you won't have to worry about me. Indirect verbal clues are less explicit than direct verbal clues, but they still suggest a person may be considering suicide. These statements often reflect feelings of hopelessness, despair, or a desire to escape without directly mentioning suicide. And then I also want to remind you, and as we talk about these clues, these are all outside of normal behaviors. Sometimes people can say things and it doesn't necessarily mean that they want an end to it all. So just, you would want to know that person when you're having that conversation and when you're talking back and forth with them, looking for clues outside of normal behavior. So next you have some behavioral clues. That could be any previous suicide attempt and acquiring a gun or stockpiling pills, co-occurring depression, moodiness, hopelessness, putting personal affairs in order, again, outside of their normal behavior, because, putting personal affairs in order, we all want to make sure that we have our paperwork and everything. Again, looking at all the clues. Giving away prized possessions, sudden interest or disinterest in religion, drug or alcohol abuse or relapse, and unexplained anger, aggression, and irritability. So behavioral clues refer to actions or changes in behavior that may indicate someone is at risk for suicide. These can include both noticeable shifts in daily habits and more dramatic behaviors that suggest a person is struggling. Again, when in doubt, just ask the question. There could be many, many behaviors that constitute pre-suicide attempt, conditions or observations. We just couldn't list them all, obviously. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to go ahead and look at situational clues. That could be a previous suicide attempt, being fired or being expelled from school, a recent unwanted move, loss of any major relationship, death of a spouse, child, or best friend, especially if by suicide, diagnosis of a serious or terminal illness, sudden unexpected loss of freedom, anticipated loss of financial security, loss of a cherished therapist, fear of becoming a burden to others. So a very extensive list. And again, that's not all of the situation. That's not all the situations. Situational clues are life events or circumstances that increase a person's risk of suicide. These clues often involve significant personal crisis, losses, or stressors. Okay. So now that we've looked at all of these warning signs or these clues, we're going to go into QPR. So this is a 3-step intervention plan. QPR stands for question, persuade, refer. QPR. Question, we're going to talk about how to ask the question directly or indirectly, and also questions to avoid. Persuading, how do we persuade someone to stay alive? And refer, how and to whom will you refer the person that you just helped? Asking the question. So we're going to go over some tips for asking the question. Number 1, we'll go. If in doubt, don't wait, ask. If a person is reluctant, be persistent. Talk to the person alone in a private setting. Allow the person to talk freely. Give yourself plenty of time and have your resources handy. We have some resources here. Please take them afterwards. We have brochures, 988 resources, and have those handy with you. Just carry a card. There are small business cards. You never know when you might need to have that conversation. You can just pull it out of your pocket and refer, and we'll get to the refer portion later on. Okay, so how we ask the question is less important than how you ask it. The important thing is to just ask. So we're going to be looking at ways to ask the question, but again, you know, don't get so hung up on how you're asking it. Research has shown that asking the question does not increase the risk of suicide, which we looked at earlier, or give someone the idea of suicide. Instead, it actually decreases the person's risk of dying by suicide by intervening early in the crisis cycle and providing an opportunity for early intervention. Okay, so we're going to look at the less direct approach to asking the question. Have you been unhappy lately? Have you been very unhappy lately? Have you been so very unhappy lately that you've been thinking about ending your life? Do you ever wish you can go to sleep and never wake up? So less direct approach. We're asking the question, but we're not, like it says, we're not being direct. We're not specifically saying, are you thinking about suicide? I will say the direct approach is generally the best approach. And direct approach looks like this. You know, when people are upset as you seem to be, they sometimes wish they were dead. And then moving into, I'm wondering if you're feeling that way too. I am worried about you. I wonder if you're thinking about suicide. That's going to sound different with every situation and relationship, and that's going to be really uncomfortable the first time. That's definitely something that we recommend you practice saying, because like in that video earlier, having that conversation is really uncomfortable. A lot of us are not used to saying, I'm worried about you. I wonder if you're thinking about suicide, because we don't want to seem like, well, I don't know what they're going through. I don't know, like maybe I'm being dramatic and it's not that serious. It never hurts to ask the question, ever. We're bringing hope. We're trying to save lives. Just like, hey, you know what? I'm just looking out for you. I'm here for you. Okay. And then I do want to say too, we're not just randomly asking people these questions. We're looking for those verbal, behavioral, situational clues. And that could look like, hey, I noticed that when you lost your job, you said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to live, or whatever it was. And I'm worried about you. I just want, are you thinking about suicide? So having the way that you ask it is going to depend on what clues or warning signs that that they have exhibited that cause you to want to ask the question. Oh, you say, are you thinking about? Okay. Another important note is if you cannot ask the question, because like I said, that is really uncomfortable. That's hard for people, especially starting out. If you can't ask the question, find someone who can. There could be a million reasons why you should not be the one to ask the question. Maybe you're too close to that person emotionally. Not being able to ask the question doesn't mean that you cannot provide hope and resources, that you have no role in this. You definitely have a role. Number one, you were recognizing the signs. You saw those clues and you said, hey, the question needs to be asked. So if I can't do it, then I'm gonna find someone who can ask the question. And I'm gonna go to a family member, a friend, or even the 988 hotline. They're available all the time, and you just have to give them a call. So there are wrong ways. I know we said don't get so hung up on how to ask the question, but there are wrong ways to ask the suicide question. You're not thinking of killing yourself, are you? You wouldn't do anything stupid, would you? Suicide is a dumb idea. Surely you are not thinking about suicide. All of those ways that the question was asked is telling that person in crisis to tell you no. No, I'm not. I don't have a dumb idea like that. No. We must never tell them to not tell us the truth. And that's what we're doing, asking those questions. We never pass judgment on a person thinking about suicide. When we're talking to them, just be aware of how our body language is, how our tone of voice is. I don't know if you noticed when I read those, the tone of my voice was like, that's a dumb idea. We don't want to do that. Okay, moving on to P, persuade. Persuading someone to stay alive. That's what we're doing with that person in crisis, to stay alive in the moment and get professional help. That's what that P stands for. You're talking to someone who may be hopeless, scared, and probably has not spoken to anyone about this. It's, again, not our job to be their therapist. That's not what QPR training is. If they don't want to talk, that's okay. You can give them space. Our job is to listen, to have active listening skills, to listen intently. And something that we always tell our kids when we're working at the schools, we listen to understand, not to respond. Sometimes they just need someone to listen to them. And that's a skill that some of us have to really work at and learn. Let's do that. We're always growing. Let's learn to be active listeners. And if they don't want to talk about it, that's okay. You don't have to push them. But just encourage them to stay safe in the moment, and then you can move on to the refer portion of QPR training. So what does that look like? Listen to the problem and give them your full attention. And remember, suicide is not the only problem, only the solution to a perceived insoluble problem. And do not rush to judgment. Okay, so now we're going to talk about asking. We want to make sure that we're not asking a question or providing an option that the person could answer no or refuse. So we want to make sure we're asking open-ended questions. Things like, we can go see the counselor together, or I can call them and see if they can come to us. Which option are you more comfortable with? So you're giving them option and you're empowering them to make a decision. However, it's a decision where we can be safe together, and I'm there to help you and to guide you and to support you. Another example, you could say, I can call 988 for help and guidance, or you can call and I'll sit here with you. Which one would you like to do? You notice they can't say no to either of those. They have to pick one. Or if they say, I don't know, okay, get creative again and think of another option. And so those are some of the questions that you can ask to kind of persuade them to go get help. Okay, we're going to go into the refer portion. People living with suicidal thoughts often believe they cannot be helped, so you may have to do more. Suicide is a solution to a perceived insoluble problem. They not only feel hopeless, they feel helpless. If they could have helped themselves, they would have done it by now. You will encounter individuals who feel that they may not be able to be helped and may be resistant to treatment. It's our role as the person who's having that conversation with them to offer hope in any form and provide access to a referral in the form of a warm handoff. So we want to make sure that we are guiding them through the process like we talked about before. And you know what, sometimes it's not always possible to get a referral to a mental health professional. So again, you have to kind of be creative. One idea is in every social system, there's go-to people who are able to help someone in severe distress. A clergyman would be a great person to go to, a pastor, that's someone who's trusted in the community, and they're usually more readily available than a mental health professional in the moment. So some referral options, and remember, every situation will be different depending on the context, relationship, and level of risk. And I do want to kind of give a little, just more information. We should always be aware of the level of risk when we're interacting with a person in crisis. Just remember, if there's a person in crisis and there's an imminent risk, we want to make sure that we are contacting law enforcement and we're just making a safe distance for ourselves to also be safe. It's just a little safety. But the referral options, the best referral involves taking the person directly to someone who can help. So if you're able to take that person in the moment that they're having that crisis and they choose to say yes, you can come with me to go talk to that pastor or that mental health professional. That's going to be the best referral. The next best referral is getting a commitment from them to accept help, then making the arrangements to get that help. So making arrangements, hey, can you stay safe in the moment? And I'm gonna go ahead and give this person a call. The third best referral is to give referral information and try to get a good faith commitment not to attempt or die by suicide. So give them that 988 number, give them that number to a mental health professional and say, hey, can you promise to be safe in this moment until you talk to this person? And then follow up with them if for some reason you're unable to do that number one best referral action. Any willingness to accept help at some time, even in the future, is a good outcome. So any referral, even if it is not what you would have hoped for, it's still a positive outcome because they still said, yes, I'm going to reach out to this person. Yes, I want to go with you. Most people are going to respond positively to help, so do not hesitate to get involved. We need to be bold because lives are at stake. So it's again that same thing. Just ask the question, give them that referral information, go with them. So since almost all efforts to persuade someone to live instead of attempt suicide will be met with agreement and relief, don't hesitate to get involved or take the lead. Trust your training, your QPR training, and trust your intuition, and just ask the question. So some pro tips for effective QPR. First, I want to say QPR is not a script. Again, that conversation is going to sound different based on the situation, the context, and relationship. But if you're speaking from your heart, that's the right way to go. Share, be open with that person, show active listening. You're offering them hope. You're there to help them. Also to say, we need to respect the privacy of the person in crisis. So let them guide who they want involved or informed. Don't just take them to someone that they don't trust or know if they're not ready for that. So you can offer encouragement such as, I want you to live. You're not alone. I want you to live. I'm here for you. I'm on your side. We'll get through this. And you can get others involved. Just ask the person who else might help. Who else is a trusted person for them? It could be family, friends, siblings, pastors, really anybody who they say, yes, I trust this person, and you can bring them in. Bring them in. Okay, another thing is follow up with the person. So we're talking about give them a warm handoff to a referral or to a professional, but follow up. Again, if you're speaking from your heart, you become a trusted person to this person that was in crisis. They show that you care. Following up shows that you genuinely care and builds trust with the person in crisis. Trust strengthens the connection and makes it more likely they'll reach out for help in the future. Ongoing support helps them stay safe and feel less isolated. It reinforces that they have someone who is there for them, helping reduce feelings of hopelessness. Regular follow-up can catch any warning signs as well if they're struggling again. So follow-up isn't just about crisis management, it's about encouraging long-term recovery and well-being. Let the person know that you care about what happens to them, because caring may save their life. When you apply QPR, you plant the seeds of hope. And I think that's so important because I really love how, it's a feeling of, I have a problem that I don't have a solution to, and there is hopelessness and helplessness involved, and we can be that person that helps provide hope to them, and that's so important. I hope that you guys learned something new. And I just kind of want to open it up for any questions or comments or anything like that about QPR training. Anybody has any?
Well, I would say I thought that was a really great presentation, and I learned a whole lot of new things from that. The only thing that I would add, I did want to point out that I really liked how you pointed out that suicide is not the problem. There's a problem that is leading to that. There's a reason why they're considering that, right? And I've recently learned 50%, at least 50% of suicides are related to substance use disorder or alcoholism. So that right there is a solvable problem. It's really important to talk to them, and I'm really glad that you gave me a lot of talking points. This is great.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that you took that from there, because that was something that stood out to me as well. Even watching that video back where it says recovery is possible, suicide is preventable. And it really just drives home. I know I keep saying hope, 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 but it's so true.
Mhm.
That's so important. And we all need that in our lives, is hope, and, also someone to trust and look to, and to walk through life with. I think that's really important.
We have a question online. It said, is this training being made available in middle and high schools?
So there are opportunities to teach QPR training for middle and high schoolers. That's something that would need to be discussed with staff. So since suicide can be a very sensitive subject, there is an age appropriate training, but it does require all the administrative staff to be trained first, as well as the teachers. And then we can move into possibly training middle and high schoolers. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. So I just kind of want to end it there and just say again, hope helps prevent suicide. If you guys do have any questions, you can see me afterwards. Our contact information is on our brochures. Please email me. And then also in front of you is a survey. Sorry, I forgot to announce it earlier. There was a pre-survey and then a post-survey to show knowledge gained. But if you just want to fill out that back part, if you didn't fill out the first part before the training, that's totally fine. And I also have certificates for everyone who showed up, because you guys now are certified. They call them QPR gatekeepers. So you guys are trained in QPR. And you can take that home with you. For those of you online, I can get that to you as well. We'll email them out. And then I also have little QPR booklets, which kind of goes into way more detail even than we talked about in the training. And it has a little card about warning signs and things like that that you can have, as well as the 988 resources right over here. Thank you.
Please, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does the 988 direct you to local resources, or is that just a national hotline to?
So
is there somebody that's directing you to a local area?
Yes, so there is a program called 988 Follow-Up. It's through Centerstone, and they would direct you to local resources. So you would be directed to them, and then they can direct you locally. So is that yeah, okay. 988 is national, but they will direct you to local resources.
So Julie, 988, that's staffed by clinicians, right, that can provide
Yes.
clinical help,
Yes.
professional help
Yes.
right away,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 24/7.
Correct, yes, those are mental health professionals, and they're, like you said, available 24/7. So that's a great resource to have to call if you need someone immediately.
I just want to share a comment of something that was personal for me. I had a best friend from high school that attempted suicide twice, and I didn't handle it well. But I asked them why. Don't do that, because it shuts them down from you needing to understand doesn't help anything. So I just wanted to share, you don't need to know the whys
Right.
behind or the reasons behind that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Mhm.
Anything else about the QPR? Okay, so thank you, Jaleese. That was great, very informative. I know one of my first thoughts would be, it was on the list of what not to say. You know, that's the first thing that comes to my mind was on that, don't say that. So thanks for doing the training. So now we have time for announcements for what's going on in the county, any events coming up, anything anybody wants to make everybody aware of. We have included in your packet here with the minutes, a little flyer of a few events that we have coming up. That somebody might want to elaborate on, but we'll open it up for announcements.
Really quick, we would love if you'd be able to fill out our survey. If you're in, the room, we have a physical copy with your packet of papers. But if you'd like to fill it out digitally on your phone, there's a QR code, there's also one by the door. But going down our events list that we have here, let me see if this works. All right, so Donuts with Lambie, actually can.
Donuts with Lambie's this Saturday at the Cheatham County Public Library. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 12, and we will have donuts provided, some water. We want to keep the library nice and clean and not sticky, so just water. But we will be doing a Lambie reading, and it is Lambie Learns About Addiction. It's child friendly. It's easy for them to understand. So definitely a great support for children who may have experienced a loved one, a family member, parent, caregiver, struggling with substance misuse, but also good for children who may not have had that experience, but just learning that, you know, other kids may experience it, and just to have some compassion and also understand that, you know, we want to just encourage them to make healthy choices. So that's what that book is essentially about. And so Lambie will be making an appearance, and we'll have other coloring books and crayons and all that good stuff available for everyone to take. So if you know anyone interested in that, please come join us and tell them to come. We would love to have you all.
And then the coalition will also be hosting a movie on the lawn at our office, 395 South Main Street, on October 25th. It's Friday at 6. We'll be showing Monsters, Inc., and we're encouraging everyone to dress up in costume. We'll have giveaway items, a candy booth, a photo booth, popcorn and things like that. And then we also, the next day, October 26th, that Saturday, we'll be doing our drug take back day. We have 3 locations set up in Cheatham County. Ashland City will be set up at the Walmart, and Pleasant View will be at Hometown Pharmacy, and then in Kingston Springs will be at Kingston Springs Pharmacy. From 10 to 2, we're taking all medications, that includes like over-the-counter medication, prescribed medication. It can be pills, it can be liquids. We cannot take back sharps. But that's a great way for you to dispose of medication. We'll also have, of course, coalition staff there. The law enforcement will be there, so if you want to connect with local law enforcement, they'll be there. We will be providing overdose reversal trainings at our Ashland City location, so you can attend that one. And then also on this upcoming event sheet, and this is not necessarily an event, but the coalition is doing an Empowered Parents group chat. So if you're a caregiver, you can join this group chat. We send out a topic bi-weekly. I think our latest one was about bullying. And we kind of just give you some talking points to talk with your youth. And that can be children in elementary school all the way up to high school, and just start that conversation. And then we also just ask you to engage with us and say, hey, well, we're doing these healthy activities, and we'll kind of share that with our community and our other parents. So if you'd like to join, you can text that number. It's also included here. But yeah, that's coalition announcements.
Thank you.
Mhm.
What else? Does anybody know anything about overdose reversal?
Overdose reversal? Yeah. I have availability to provide overdose reversal training next month. I will be at Drug Take Back Day at the Walmart location from 12 to 2.
We have Zoom trainings.
Oh yeah, I have Zoom
monthly.
bi-monthly. No, I have 2 Zoom trainings each month.
Okay, and Narcan kits, are sometimes available if you qualify.
Yes.
That's right.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Not being kid. So, at the church that I attend, I'm over the first aid, stuff. And so I have a knocking kit. And so I had read something about like expiration date, like you can extend it a year. Is that true or not true?
That is true. That was when it first came out, the company that makes Narcan had given it a shorter shelf life.
Mhm.
And then they realized, oh, it is good for a longer period, and they sent all these letters out that said, kind of ignore the expiration date, but all of that has since expired. So if you have a kit that has a date that's in the past, you'll need to get a new kit. And Casey can, if you're in one of our 8 counties, she can help you with that.
Absolutely, and if you would like to schedule a training for your church staff, I'm more than happy to accommodate that as well.
For the ones who came in after our introductions, we'd love to know who you are, and we're happy to have you if you don't mind introducing yourselves.
Linda McGee.
Okay.
Welcome.
My name's Carol Akers,
Okay.
and I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, brought along.
And I
Thank you.
just, sorry, I just want to say too, if you didn't get a chance to sign in before you came, our sign-in sheet is over here in the front. And then also we have our free medication lock boxes on the shelf over here. We really recommend every home have one to just keep your prescription and non-prescription medication locked up. Or if you know of someone who would really benefit from that, please feel free to take one and share that with them. And yeah, that's all.
Does anybody have questions about the coalition, who we are, what we do in general? Are there any questions from online?
But you see Anne's, she's like,
Okay, well, if there's nothing, does anybody else have announcements?
You want to talk about the town hall next month?
Oh,
I've
yes.
been sharing
You
that.
mean the drug training? Yes, that did not make the list. In November, in the date.
November 21st.
21st, yes. We will be having hosting the TBI Dangerous Drug Task Force, the Tennessee Alliance of Drug Addicted Children, at Gateway Church for what they call drug trends training. The TBI will be giving us an update on the trends that they're seeing in our area. I hear that meth is making a little bit of a comeback, but they'll give us the latest data on what's going on. And the statewide director from the Tennessee Alliance of Drug Addicted Children will be doing a training on the DEC approach and an update on drug endangered children in the state of Tennessee. And then the statewide Handle with Care director will also be present. And she'll talk about the Handle with Care program, which is a program between law enforcement and the schools. Our county sheriff's department has agreed to participate in. If they have an officer that goes out on a call, it may be a drug overdose, or it may be grandma had a heart attack. Some kind of traumatic event has happened. If the police show up at your house, 9 times out of 10, and there are school-age children there, they get the school the child attends, and they have a system where they can send alert to that principal, that guidance counselor, and the SRO in that school, and it just says, handle Jimmy with care. So the next day, if he comes to school and he's sleepy because this happened at 3 a.m. or, just may need a little extra grace. So at this drug trends training, we'll also get an update on the Handle with Care program in the state of Tennessee. It is from 9.
It's from 9 to 12.
9 to 12, yes.
Yeah, there was a change in the time.
Well, the Dangerous Drug Task Force is out of Chattanooga and they're on Eastern time. So we're a little mixed up with that, but our time, it'll be 9 AM. Then that's not the right date.
Is it the 27th, I thought?
No, it's the 21st, it's a Thursday.
It is from November. Oh.
November
November
20th.
November
21st.
21st.
Okay, and that's sweet. It's up during the week?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It is, during the week. It's,
Yes, it's Thursday from November 21st, Thursday, 9 to 12,
they,
9 AM to 12 PM.
the task force schedules that and we just find them a venue and, you know, support them as we can, but that's the time that they, are available. That's when it'll be happening. And, we've had them here before for that and it's really informative, session.
And, Tommy Farmer, Mr. Farmer, spoke at our marijuana town hall that we had back last year, I wanna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
It's the
he
same
walked
group.
through our hidden in plain sight and everything, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes, so he will be, it's the same group, then he'll be doing his update. And on that one, he specifically had stats and information on marijuana. This, it'll be an update on just what they're seeing now, which may be a lot of cannabis from out here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as well as other things.
Oh, and I do want to say really quick, this is not an announcement. I just want to say, most recently we had Laura Stack from Johnny's Ambassadors, speak to our community. She hosted a community breakfast and it went really, really well. That education talks about the dangerous truths about today's marijuana and how THC is completely different than marijuana in the past. And she also was able to share, her story with Sycamore High School students. Her son actually died by a suicide caused by psychosis due to high levels of THC. And so I'm really glad that the coalition has been able to partner with so many agencies, especially between now with last month, which was Suicide Prevention Month, and now to share as much knowledge as possible. And we want to keep bringing those trainings to you all. So we'd love to host another community breakfast like that. So just keep an eye out, follow us on social media because that's where we post all of our stuff. And we'd love to see you guys there the next time we host one.
Yeah, so we got a few minutes left. I'll just say really quickly, this is our, we changed our meeting format. We were meeting monthly. We still want to have an evening meeting so we can have community members involved. So this meeting will be quarterly. The next meeting is January 16th. It's on your agenda here, but it will be the second Thursday, is that what we are?
The third
Thursday, quarterly. And we have all this information on our website. If you signed in out front, or if you'll sign in and put your email, we'll add you to our email list and you'll get notifications of these activities and events and our meetings. So we will also meet monthly in combined meeting with the Health Council, the Cheatham County Health Council. And that's on the first Monday of the month at noon at the community room at the library up on next to the health department on 49. So those meetings are all open to the public. We hope to have form committees, like we're having our drug take back day on October 26th. Ideally, we'll have enough community members and staff. We'll form a committee and say, okay, we need a planning committee for this town hall event or for the drug take back, and have our community members more involved in the planning and the carrying out of these events.
Yeah, for sure. Because the coalition needs the community. It's made up of the community, and we all know our big thing is nobody knows our community like our community. So we know our families, we know our youth, we know the people that we're trying to reach. So we'd love to bring more voice of the community to these planning meetings. Yeah. And the Health Council collaboration would be a great time to do that.
We may have an announcement online if Tabitha has anything to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Laura, I heard you talking about the task force coming in to do the drug trends training on November the 21st, and it's from 9 till 12. However, if your community had a need for us to come in and do like an evening town hall, like what we've done in the past, it may not be the entire task force that could come, but we could make arrangements, at least for myself and Evangeline and someone from the team to come in and do the drug trends training for you all at a different date.
Okay, good, thank you. Maybe we can, when we have the daytime event in November, maybe we can gauge community interest. And if we think we have enough people that would like to attend, then we can schedule one in the evening. Thank you, guys. Okay, does anybody else have anything else before we adjourn?
I have just a question.
Okay.
On the first Monday meetings, you said it's with the health council.
We're gonna combine with the Cheatham County Health Council meetings.
What does that look like? What do you guys do, or what? I'm just
Are you
curious.
asking what the Health Council is?
Yeah, how do you work with them, and what's comes out of the meetings?
So the health council, they'll give their like health department updates, so things on
Okay.
like vaccines, kind of any new initiatives that are coming up out of health council. But it's a really good time for a lot of community serving agencies, including like people from the school district, from the coalition, people from Centerstone, lots of different agencies that have to do with physical health, mental health, recovery, or any sort of addiction services coming together. So the health department will do their announcements. Everyone kind of does their announcements and talks about some events that they want to plan or things that we want to bring to the community, kind of like what Laura was talking about, those subcommittees. It's really a good time to plan and also know what other agencies are doing, because sometimes.
So like a networking meeting with
Yes.
us? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, and one of the primary purposes of our coalition is a coordination of efforts. So that we're not all in our silos, so that there's not a community group, the Kiwanis, we're not putting on a pancake breakfast to raise money for a certain thing, and then so is the coalition, and so is this group. So it's sort of a coordination of efforts, and we like to have representation on the coalition from all the different civic groups and the different sectors, law enforcement and schools and all the different pieces of our community.
Thank you for
So-
explaining.
Make sure we get you guys on our email list, so
Okay.
you'll have updates on that, in case I gave out the wrong date or the wrong time. All right, and one more announcement, I think there's plenty of food in there.
So it is. Yeah.
Take some, or, yeah, it's really good. All right, so, motion to adjourn.
Kennedy motions to adjourn.
All right, thank you, thanks for coming. And the resources are over here.